Welcome to the channel and welcome to episode 3 of my solo play Grimdark Future campaign. If you haven't seen episodes 1 and 2, please go and check them out because, spoiler alert, the story so far. The planet of Novus Chestrensis is the target of an Orc invasion. Orc forces bombarded the major population centres from orbit and then landed ground troops. The human defence forces valiantly tried to hold the Orcs back, but ultimately failed and were driven back to secondary positions, although the Orcs did suffer heavy losses in the process. Meanwhile, on the southern continent, disciples of the Plague God launched a raid of opportunity on a mining camp in an area known as Delving Creek. But what they didn't expect was the mining workforce was actually the seat of power for a Soul Snatcher cult. The Soul Snatchers were driven back and the disciples of the Plague God made off with their vitally needed supplies. However, none of this was known to the HDF High Command. All the HDF High Command know is they've lost contact with Delving Creek mining station. The area is deemed to be of vital strategic importance, and so a recon force has been dispatched under the command of Captain Myers to investigate the situation. As Captain Myers and his forces approach, they hear the rustle of chitin and the rasping of bestial voices, and then the roaring of engines, and the stuff of nightmares bursts from the shadows. And here's a reminder of the forces under the command of Captain Myers. Towards the bottom of the screen in the centre is Captain Myers himself. He's a company leader, armed with a pistol and energy sword, and upgraded with the Munitioneer Focus Fire ability, so that he can select a unit within 12 inches and they get an extra AP to their ranged shots. And if he is attached to a unit with a field radio, he can extend that to 24 inches as long as the receiving unit has also got a field radio. He will be accompanied by Myers Misfits, a squad of 5 veterans behind him. There's a field radio in there, 4 rifles and a grenade launcher. To the left of the screen we have 311 squad, or rather 311 squad, but 311 squad. It's an infantry squad. One of the troopers has a field radio, one of them has been equipped with a pistol and an energy sword to denote the NCO. There's a grenade launcher in there and also a weapons team with an autocannon. At the top left of the screen we have Silent and Deadly, a squad of 5 snipers. At the back we've got 3rd Support Squad, a unit of 3 weapons teams, all equipped with mortars. At the back right we have a special weapons team of 3 flamethrowers. They are called Hot Stuff. And then finally, Captain Myers has scraped together some raw recruits and brought them on the mission to get them some experience. They are affectionately referred to as the sushi because they are raw and probably going to get sliced and diced, but a unit of 10 conscripts. And that totals 890 points. Here we have the Soul Snatcher cult being led by Archmage Karlov. Just to remind you, he is a cult leader and he is a psychic. He is accompanied by the Blessed Initiates, who are a unit of 5 neophytes. One of them has a mining laser. Next to them are the Holy Ones, a unit of 5 Soul Snatchers. Behind them are the Blessed Sons, a unit of 5 Acolytes. 2 of them are armed with heavy cutters. 2 of them are armed with flamethrower pistols and mutant claws, and the 5th one is armed with a pistol and mutant claws. At the back on the left is Grinder Truck Gamma 4, equipped with a heavy machine gun and a heavy mining laser. And finally, the newest unit within the cult, the Jackals, a unit of 3 minion bikers. All 3 of them are armed with shotguns and one of them also has a heavy hammer. And that totals 875 points. Now there's less than 50 points between the 2 armies, so the Soul Snatcher cult will not get an underdog bonus. Okay, we're set up, and the eagle-eyed among you will notice that this is the same table as the last game, with some very subtle changes, i.e. everything that could have been taken from the compounds, etc., has indeed been snatched up by the Plague Disciples. Roll for objectives, and there's 3, so we've put them in a line across the centre. We've got objective 1 more or less in the centre of the table, objective 2 and objective 3, so a line across the centre of the table. The Soul Snatcher cults won the deployment roll-off, so just like the last game I could put the truck down and everything else has got scout. So we then deployed the HDF, and we've got 311 squad on that crater in some cover. We've got the mortars behind this stack of storage pipes. We've got the conscripts behind this installation, whatever this might be, pumping station. And then on the left flank we've got Captain Myers and his veteran squad, and also the flamethrower squad. And that was the main deployment. Then we went on to scouts, and the HDF won the roll-off for deploying scouts. So we've got the snipers up on top of this installation here. So they deploy 12 inches as far forward as they can, and then they can deploy, effectively move another 12 inches ignoring terrain. So they made it on top of this installation here, these silos. And then the Soul Snatcher cults got to deploy the rest of their units. There's a siren going off in the background, so I'll just pause it a second. Joys of living near a main road. Right, so the first unit to be deployed was Archmage Karlov and his unit of neophytes, and they're in this tower which overlooks the sniper's position. We've got the acolytes in this crater here, ready to hop onto objective 3. In the centre we've got the Soul Snatchers on objective 1, ready to rush forward onto 311 squad, and we've got the biker squad over here on objective 2, ready to rush forward and wreak havoc in the back lines of the HDF. So the Soul Snatcher cult will get the first activation in the first turn because they won the deployment roll-off. But before we do that, we need to see what special objectives each army has got. Special objective for the Soul Snatcher cult: 2. Honour no enemy units in own deployment zone at the end of the game. So that's what the Plague Disciples have when they fought the Soul Snatchers. Special objective for the HDF: 2. Same thing, have no enemy units in your deployment zone. Kind of makes sense, I suppose, for the scenario we're looking to do. At the start of the first turn, is there going to be a random event on a 5+? No. First activation of turn 1, the Soul Snatchers are going to charge 311 squad. They are fast, they have Strider, so quite easily got enough movement given their scouting move to get into contact with 311 squad. There's a lot of wobbly model syndrome going on, so I am going to assume that all of the HDF have managed to pile in and will be in fighting range, as are all of the Soul Snatchers. Soul Snatchers get 3 attacks each. There's 5 of them, so that's 15 attacks. Hitting on 3s. That's only 4 misses. There's 2 6s. The 6s are rending, but that doesn't really matter because these are AP1 anyway, so the HDF are going to need 6s to save. So 11 saves of 6+. There's 4. It's 4 saves. These are brand new dice for this game, and yeah, so far doing pretty well. But that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members of the squad die. Fighting back, the NCO has got 2 attacks with an energy sword, hitting on 5s. There's another 6, which is rending, so this will have to be a 6-up save from the Soul Snatchers. Nope, so 1 of the Soul Snatchers dies from the energy sword. Then 4 close combat weapon attacks, hitting on 5s. 3 hits. These will be 4s to save. That's 2 saves, so 1 more Soul Snatcher dies. So that's 7 wounds inflicted by the Soul Snatchers to 2 inflicted by the HDF 311 squad. And the HDF 311 squad is at less than half its starting health. There's only 4 models left out of the 11, so they need to take a morale test on a 5+, and if they fail, the unit is routed. That's a 3. They fail. 311 squad routes, and those soul snatchers can then consolidate 3 inches into the cover of the crater. First blood to the soul snatcher cults. In answer to that, the snipers are going to try and cut the head from the snake and try and take out the enemy psychic. The snipers have singled out the enemy leader with their sniper ability. It gives them quality 2 for shooting, but Archmage Karlov is in cover, so this will be 3 to hit, 5 shots. That's 4 hits. These are all AP1, so this is going to need to be 6s to save. He needs to make at least 2 to stay alive. Nope, that's none. The enemy leader is taken down by sniper fire. The jackals have roared forwards and charged into the conscripts, just having enough movement with their fast ability to get them into contact. There's 2 regular close combat weapons in there. These will hit on 5s. That's 1 hit. 6s are nothing special. This will be a 5 to save, which fails, so 1 conscript dies. And then there's 1 heavy hammer, which will hit on a 5, and that misses. A chance for these raw recruits to prove their mettle as they fight back. 9 attacks, but hitting on 6s because they are conscripts. No return hits. None of them hit. The jackals inflicted 1 wound. The conscripts have inflicted no wounds, so the jackals win the melee combat. Conscripts take a morale check. They'll need a 6 because they are quality 6+. That's only a 3, so the conscripts are pinned and the jackals have to fall back an inch. Captain Myers and his veteran squad have come round the corner. They're going to open fire on the acolytes in that crater, but before they do, he is going to order Hot Stuff, the flamethrower squad, to focus their fire on those soul snatchers. We'll start with 1 shot from the grenade launcher. This is blast, so it ignores the cover and will hit on a 6. I have no idea why I said a 6. I meant to say a 4. That's a miss. And then there's 4 rifles which will hit on 5s because of the cover afforded by the crater. It's 1 hit. 5 to save. That's a 6. That's a save from the acolytes, so no damage inflicted by Captain Myers and his Myers Misfit veterans on the acolytes. The neophytes, enraged at the fall of their leader, are going to open fire on the snipers. Now, I'm not sure whether or not to give these guys cover, because if they were being shot at from the ground, I would definitely say they get cover, but the neophytes are in an elevated position. They are above the snipers, so what I'll do is I'll roll a d6, and on a 4+, the snipers will get the benefit of cover. Do the snipers get the benefit of cover? No, they don't. And to be honest, I think that's fair. 1 shot from a mining laser will hit on a 4+. Whilst I decided they don't get the benefit of cover, I did forget they do get stealth, so they should still be -1 to hit. I do pick that up later on. That's a hit. This is AP3 Deadly 3. The snipers will need a 6 to save. That is a 6. 4 rifles hitting on 4s. 3 hits. No AP on these, so these will be 5s to save. Ooh. So I literally just remembered that the snipers have got stealth, so they're -1 to hit, so that mining laser would never have hit in the first place, so it's a good thing the save was a 6. And of those 3 dice that I just rolled for the rifles, 2 of them were 4s. They should have been hitting on 5s, so there's only 1 hit, so this will be 1 5-up save. And that's not a save, so one of the snipers does die. I suppose technically the 6 that I rolled earlier should have been that save, so none of the snipers should have died, but yeah, we're just getting complicated there. The Flamethrower Special Weapons Squad, Hot Stuff, are going to move so that they can all clearly see the target, i.e. the Soul Snatchers. They were ordered by Captain Myers, who was within 12 inches of them at the time, to focus their fire on those Soul Snatchers. This is 6 shots each, so 18 shots, but hitting on 5s. One of those landed on the floor. There we go. Although they're in cover, so they're hitting on 6s. And it's the first time we've used this unit, so I forgot they're relentless, so those 6s should have generated extra shots. I picked that up later. That's only 2 hits. Ordinarily 4 up saves become 5 up saves because of an extra AP1 from focus fire, or the munitioneer skill. That was going to roll off the table. 2 3s, both fail, so 2 of the Soul Snatchers die, which means there's only going to be 1 left. The remaining Soul Snatcher will need to take a morale test on a 4+. I don't know why I suddenly started thinking that Soul Snatchers are quality 4+, they're quality 3+, but in this case it didn't matter. That is a 4, so that remaining Soul Snatcher is still fine, it's not pinned. Grinder Truck Gamma 4 has rushed forwards onto Objective 3. It is fast, and it does have Strider courtesy of its Dozer Blade, so it can completely ignore that terrain for movement purposes. It is now very much dominating that open area around Objective 3. The mortars are going to fire at extreme short range, bringing it in really close in on those bikers near the conscripts. This will be 3 shots hitting on 5s, and they all miss. Lastly, for the Soul Snatcher cult, the unit of acolytes has rushed. They do have Strider, so again they ignore the movement penalties for that crater. They've made it to the bottom of this ladder. In theory they should be about 1 or 2 inches up that ladder, but yeah, that's where they are for now, easily within charge range of the snipers for the next turn. And that just leaves the unit of conscripts, and all they can do is unpin themselves and mark themselves as activated. As I was doing the editing, I spotted that there were 2 relentless hits from the flamethrowers, so I rolled 2 6s. They should have generated extra shots, so let's roll those now before it's too late. There's a 6, so that is an extra shot, and by that I mean an extra hit. This will be a 5 up save, and that's a save, so we're all good. So that is the end of turn 1, and what a turn it was for a game of Grimdark Future. 311 squad slaughtered by Soul Snatchers, who were in turn almost cut down completely themselves. The enemy leader, Archmage Kharkov, taken down by sniper bullets, and some minor skirmishing elsewhere. But at the moment there's only 1 objective being held, and that's Objective 3, being held by the Soul Snatcher cults, and specifically Grinder Truck Gamma 4. As we go into turn 2, the Soul Snatchers will again get the first turn because they finished activating first in turn 1. At the start of turn 2, is there going to be a random event on a 5+? No. For the first activation, the last remaining Soul Snatcher is going to charge Hot Stuff. 3 attacks hitting on 4s. That should have been hitting on 3s, not 4s. My apologies for all the mistakes. It was the end of a very tiring week, and unfortunately I spotted this one when it was too late to do anything about it. It's 1 hit. Needs a 6 to save. That's cocked, but I think it's going to be a 2. 1 dies. 2 attacks back with close combat weapons. Hitting on 5s, neither hits. So the Special Weapons Squad now needs to make a morale test because they lost the combat. This will be a 5+. That's a fail, but because they're still above half their starting strength, they simply get pinned, and the Soul Snatcher backs off an inch. Captain Myers and the Veteran Squad have backed off out of charge range of the very threatening grinder truck, but they are still within range of the Acolytes, and Captain Myers is now giving orders to fire at them and to focus their fire, giving the Acolytes the benefit of cover for being amongst all those gantries and metalwork. However, the grenade launcher ignores cover, so this will be one shot hitting on a 4+, which misses. 4 rifles hitting on 5+. It's one hit. The Acolytes need a 6 to save. That's a fail, so one of the Acolytes dies, and Myers' own pistol is out of range. The Acolytes have charged the snipers on top of those silos. We'll start things off with 2 heavy cutters. They get 2 attacks each, hitting on 4s. That's all 4 hit. 6s are nothing special. These are AP2, Deadly 3. There's only 4 snipers left in the squad. We need 6s to save. That's no 6s, so just those 2 cutters cut down the 4 snipers. And now the Acolytes can consolidate 3 inches. The conscripts are going to shoot at the minion bikers, the jackals. There's 9 shots, hitting on 6s because they're quality 6+, because they're conscripts. What are those 2 under there? There's a 6, it's 1 hit. 5+ save. Here's a 2. They are tough 3 each, so one of them will take a wound. The jackals have pulled back. They are fast, so they can move 8 inches in total on an advance move, but that's not quite enough to get them onto objective 2. But they are now going to shoot at the conscripts with their shotguns, which are still in range. 6 shots hitting on 5s. It's 1 hit. This is AP1, so there's only a 6 to save. That's a save. The only units the HDF have got left are the mortar teams and the flamethrower squad, but the flamethrower squad is currently pinned, so all they'll be able to do is unpin themselves. The mortar teams have got 3 eligible targets. There's the 1 remaining Soul Snatcher, there's the grinder truck, which I don't think they'll be able to scratch much, so they're going to put all 3 mortars into the bikes. 3 shots hitting on 5s. That's 1 hit. That is blast 3, and there are 3 models in the target unit, so that will be 3 hits. 5s to save. There's 2 saves, so 1 more wound will go through on the already injured biker. The neophytes have rushed down the interior stairs in that tower and come out of the door. The only unit left for the HDF is Hot Stuff, the flamethrower squad, who can simply unpin themselves and mark themselves as activated. The grinder truck is just simply going to sit on objective 3 and open fire on Myers and his veteran squad. 1 shot from the mining laser will hit on a 4+, which misses. 3 shots from a heavy machine gun will hit on a 4+. It's 1 hit. AP1, so 6s to save. No, so one of the veterans gets cut down by heavy machine gun fire. So that's the end of turn 2, another brutal turn. The HDF definitely feeling the pressure from these brutal alien hybrids. The snipers have been taken down. Flamethrower squad not able to react to the oncoming Soul Snatcher, probably frozen in terror. Captain Myers doing what he can to bolster the lines, but at the moment there's still only 1 objective held, and that's held by the Soul Snatchers, and I don't think that grinder truck is going anywhere because there is a definite lacking of armour penetration, anti-armour weaponry for the HDF. As we go into turn 3, the HDF will have the first activation because they finished activating first, because they're running out of assets. At the start of turn 3, is there going to be a random event on a 5+? Nope. First activation for the HDF. Hot stuff, the flamethrower squad is going to advance and then literally fire at the last remaining soul snatcher. 12 attacks hitting on 5s. 6s cause extra shots. Two 5s, two 6s. So let's roll 2 extra shots, neither of which converts. 4 saves of 4 up needed. Nope, that last remaining soul snatcher is incinerated. The jackals, the minion bikers, have continued to pull back and are now on objective 2. Their shotguns are still in range of the conscripts, so this will be 6 shots hitting on 5s. That's 3 hits. 6s are nothing special. These are AP1, so 6s to save. None, so 3 more conscripts get taken down by shotgun fire. Conscripts are still above half their starting strength. There's 6 of them left out of the squad of 10, so they don't need to take a morale test yet. Captain Myers and his veteran squad have come back into the lee of this building to get out of the line of sight of the grinder truck, and he's ordering the veterans to open fire and focus their fire on the acolytes on top of those silos. As before, the acolytes will get the benefit of cover, but the grenade launcher ignores cover. The grenade launcher gets 1 shot, which will hit on a 4+. That's a hit. It's blast 3, and there's 4 in the squad, so this will be 3 hits. Because of his munitioneer ability that gives them focus fire, i.e. everything gets an extra AP1, this will need to be 6s to save for the acolytes. There's 1 6, but 2 of them get cut down. 3 rifle shots will hit on 5s because of the cover. 1 hit. Again, this will need to be a 6 to save, which saves. So 2 of the acolytes are cut down. That will leave only 2 left in the unit out of a starting strength of 5, so they will now need to take a morale test. They are quality 4+. That's a 5, so they're still good, they're not pinned. The 2 remaining acolytes have rushed and made it to the bottom of those silos. The mortars are going to fire at the bikers, 3 shots hitting on 5s. 2 hits, turns into 6 hits because they're blast 3 each, and there's still 3 models left in that unit. 6 saves of 5+. Only 1. They're tough 3 each. So 1 will die, 2 will die, and 1 will be left on 2 wounds left. The last remaining biker will now have to take a morale test because it's down to less than half the starting strength. This will need to be a 5+, and that's a 5, so they're not pinned. Now then, when I advanced the flamethrower squad earlier, the idea was the HDF need to be pushing forward onto objectives, so the theory was they would be able to rush onto objective 1 next turn. And that's kind of a gamble I had to take, but now the grinder truck can quite easily charge them, and that is in fact what is going to happen. I think we all kind of want to see what the grinder truck does in combat. Now the grinder truck itself doesn't actually get any close combat attacks, but it is impact 9, courtesy of those great big cutters on the front of its dozer blade. So this is straight up 9 saves needed to be taken by those special weapons operatives. 5+. Yep, they are minced to a pulp. And the grinder truck defeated their melee opponent, so they can now consolidate 3 inches. The last activation for the HDF is the conscripts. They're going to advance and fire on that last remaining biker. 6 shots hitting on 6s. It's 2 hits, 2 5-up saves needed. It makes them both. Ah dear. Gotta love these dice. If we knew what they were going to be, there'd be no point in rolling them. And the last remaining activation for the Soul Snatcher cult, the unit of neophytes has rushed forwards towards objective 3. At the end of turn 3, the Soul Snatcher cult very much on the offensive. The HDF have got little by way of response, Captain Myers having to pull back his veterans. The flamethrowers have been cut to pieces and shredded by the rampaging grinder truck. The Soul Snatcher cultists heading towards to consolidate their hold on objective 3. Objective 1 still up for grabs, nobody's got that yet, but objective 2 under the tentative grasp of that last remaining biker who is still wounded, but the conscripts advancing on him. As we're going to the 4th turn, at the moment the Soul Snatcher cults are winning, but the HDF will get the first activation. At the start of turn 4, is there going to be a random event on a 5+? No. So at the start of turn 4, the simple fact of the matter is the HDF cannot win. They only have one unit that is capable of capturing an objective. Captain Myers and his veterans are simply too far away from objective 3, so they won't be able to contest that, so that will be held by the Soul Snatcher cults. None of the HDF units can get to objective 1, and it'd be a simple case for the grinder truck to simply move on to it and capture that. The only objective they have any hope of capturing is objective 2. The conscripts could charge onto it and hope to finish off that last biker, but as I say, it's relatively easy for the Soul Snatcher cults to hold objectives 1 and objective 3. Now I think Captain Myers is not crazy enough to want to press on. His mission was to recon the area and find out what's going on. He now very much knows what is going on, so I think at this stage he is going to order the remaining troops to fall back. So that will be the end of turn 4, and it will be a victory for the Soul Snatcher cults. So a victory for the Soul Snatcher cults gives them 2 victory points for the campaign and 50 points to spend on reinforcements. They did achieve their secret mission, their special objective, to not have any enemy units in their deployment zone, so they will get an additional 50 points to spend on reinforcements. The HDF lost the battle, so they get no victory points, but they do get 150 points to spend on reinforcements, and they also achieved their special objective to have no enemy units in their deployment zone, so they will get an additional 50 points to spend on reinforcements. Checking for casualties for the Soul Snatcher cults, we need to check for the Blessed Sons, the Acolyte squad, because they lost more than half of their unit. I think that's going to be a 6. It is cocked, but it is a 6, I think. That looks like it would definitely land on a 6. So they will survive and gain a point of XP. Archmage Karlov will also survive and gain an XP. The Holy Ones, the Soul Snatchers, they survive with no lasting injuries. And finally, the Jackals. Again, they lost more than half their unit, so we need to roll to see if they survive. Yes, they survive with no lasting injuries. Okay, quick edit. Because Karlov is a hero unit and he rolled a 6, he becomes 5 points more expensive and gains a talent trait. And his talent will be... that rolled off the table, but it was a 1. He is a natural talent, so the hero recovers and gets an XP. That's basically what I said in the first place. So it becomes 5 points more expensive and gets an XP. Casualties for the HDF, we need to roll for 311 squad. They recover with no lasting injuries. Silent and Deadly, the Sniper squad. They recover with no lasting injuries. And finally, Hot Stuff, the Flamethrower Special Weapons Squad. That's a 1. Cocked, but it's definitely a 1. We do have permadeath, so yes, presumably getting minced up by that grinder truck well and truly put them out of action. Experience for the HDF. Captain Myers survived, giving him 1 extra experience point, putting him on 3 in total. Myers Misfits also survived, giving them an experience point, putting them on 3 in total. 311 squad gained no extra experience, they're still on 1. 3rd support squad, the mortar team, survived, so they gained 1 XP, putting them on 1. Silent and Deadly killed a unit. They killed Archmage Karlov. He is a character, so that gives them an extra 2 points, putting them on 7. So they will level up. And then last but not least, Sushi, the conscripts. Yes, I know, not all sushi is raw, sashimi is raw, but sushi is easier to say than sashimi. They survive, so they get 1 XP. So we need to see what Silent and Deadly do when they level up. So for one thing, they become 25 points more expensive. We roll a d6. That's a 2. They are headstrong. They get +1 to rolls when taking morale tests. Okay, yeah, I quite like that. Experience for the Soul Snatcher cult. Archmage Karlov gets 1 XP because of his miraculous recovery, putting him on 3 XP. The Neophytes, the Blessed Initiates, they get 1 XP for surviving the battle, putting them on 2 XP. The Blessed Sons, the Acolytes, they get 1 XP for killing the snipers. They survived the battle, and also they recovered from their own injury, giving them 3 XP, putting them on 3 XP. The Holy Ones, the Soul Snatchers, they get 1 XP for killing 311 squad during the battle, putting them on 2 XP. Grinder Truck Gamma 4 gets 2 XP, 1 for killing the Flamethrower squad, and 4 surviving the battle, putting it on 2 XP. And then finally, the Jackals survived the battle. Even though we had to roll for their injury, there was one of them left at the end of the game, so we class that as surviving the battle. They get 1 XP for that, so they get 1 XP in total, so none of the Soul Snatcher cults are leveling up this game. For the Soul Snatcher cults, I'm not upgrading any existing units, but for reinforcements they have recruited a unit of mutant brutes. In there we've got 4 heavy picks and 1 pick hammer, and that's 160 points of their 175 point budget, because they had points carried over from the last game. Upgrades for the HDF. Now I think we can all agree that the HDF are really suffering from a lack of quality. They're pretty much all quality 5 across the entire army, some quality 6, very few quality 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell Captain Myers' upgrade of Munitioneer, which is a 45 point upgrade, so I'll get 20 points back for that, because you halve it and then round down to the nearest 5. So half of 45 is 22.5, so I round it down to the nearest 5, which is 20, so I'll get 20 points back for that. And I'm going to replace it with the Take Aim upgrade, or rather the Forward Observer upgrade, which gives him Take Aim, so he can then pick a unit and they get +1 to their hit rolls. The other thing I'm going to do is upgrade 311 squad with medical training. So I can upgrade 1 model with medical training, and that gives the unit regeneration, so hopefully that will make them a little more resilient. For reinforcements, Captain Myers has called in another officer. He is another company leader, and he's pretty much exactly the same as Captain Myers. This is Lieutenant Ho. He's armed with a pistol and an energy sword, and he's got the Forward Observer Take Aim upgrade. Again, to give some badly needed accuracy to some of our Human Defence Force units. And because we've now come across sorcery, Captain Myers has taken the precaution of bringing his own psychic. This is Master Wylock. Now if you know anything about Wylock and Wylock's Armoury, the channel is named after his first D&D character who was a wizard. So yeah, this is Master Wylock. He's a company leader, obviously upgraded as a psychic, equipped with a pistol and a close combat weapon. So that was episode 3 of my Grimdark Future campaign on the planet of Novus Chestrensis. I hope you can join me next time, and until then, please continue to like, comment and subscribe, and God bless.